And I came to the Lord about 12 years ago. Before that, I believed in God and went to church, and I got baptised when I was a teenager, but I didn't actually have the Holy Spirit, even though I didn't really realise that. And I went to university, and I just started to realise that I was just being really hypocritical. I was doing the same as my friends around me, and then going to church on Sunday. So I eventually stopped going to church because I just felt too hypocritical. And then I got to a point where I was going to move to Medway as part of my university course, and I just really decided I wanted to please God, and I just prayed and fasted for a couple of weeks. I only had crackers at certain times of the day, and just prayed that God would allow me to find the right church. And when I moved to Medway, me and my parents walked into town, and we got lost, which then meant we walked past the fellowship hall. So I just went and I read all of the scriptures in the window, and went home and read Acts 2, and it just really stood out to me that they all spoke in tongues on the day of Pentecost. And I had somebody speak to me online about speaking in tongues, and they'd said it was important, but they'd said to just copy somebody, and I knew that wasn't right, and especially when I read Acts 2 myself, I could see that it happened to all of them. It wasn't like one after the other, it just happened to all of them. And I went to the meeting, and when I was outside, I was asked if I'd ever been baptised, and I'd said yes. And then I was asked if I'd ever been told that I'd received the Holy Spirit, and I realised that although I'd gone to church for years and assumed I had the Holy Spirit, nobody had ever told me I had it. So after the meeting, I just went and prayed for the Holy Spirit, and I had been to a church where some people spoke in tongues, but not everybody, and you kind of thought that everybody had a different gift. And the Lord just put it into my mind to just pray that obviously I wanted the Holy Spirit, but if I could have the Holy Spirit and not speak in tongues, but have a different gift, like they'd said before, then I wanted that to happen. But if what I'd read was right, and everybody does speak in tongues, then obviously I wanted that to happen. And after praying for a little while, I just started to speak out in this different language, so I knew then that was real. And I was also really excited before I went to the meeting, because I'd read that you could have power with the Holy Spirit, and before I'd struggled to try and please God. Even after I'd done the prayer and fast, the first thing I wanted to do was go to a nightclub and things like that. So after I received the Holy Spirit, God changed that. I had arranged before that I would go and stay with a friend, and she'd arranged for us to go to a nightclub. So I went with her, but as soon as I got there, I just felt completely out of place. I didn't drink or anything, but I just wanted to go home straight away, and I just knew that God had just changed that desire for me, and it wasn't something that I had to battle with anymore. And about 2 months later, I got baptised again, because it took me a while, because I knew my grandmother wouldn't be very happy, because she'd had a friend who'd been baptised and then baptised again. But I just realised, the Lord allowed me to realise that it was more important to please Him than my family members. I'm thankful that He was patient enough with me over that period of time. And then my mum was born again about 6 months after that, and the Lord's just blessed things since then. He blessed me with a job so that I could move via fellowship when I finished uni, and have had opportunities to pray with people. It was quite a few years ago. I lived in a flat, and there was a man who lived downstairs, and he was an alcoholic, and his friend was staying with him, and she was an alcoholic as well. And she was unwell, but she was trying to take the tablets that they'd given her, but obviously because of the alcohol she was drinking, it wasn't working, she was just being sick. And I just offered to pray with her, and so I prayed with her, and then she felt better, so she was able to take the medication that she needed. And then I said, well, the same way that I've prayed and you've seen that now you feel better, that I can pray that you don't have to drink so much. And so she agreed, and we prayed, and then I saw her the next day, and she'd only drunk half a can of lager in that period of time. And then 2 weeks later, she'd not drunk anything at all since then. And it was just, yeah, it's just good to, like, although she did come to one meeting, but although she didn't do anything, it's just good to see how God, changed her life for her. And a few years ago, my granddad, he was rushed to hospital, and he had seizures, and he kept having seizures, and they didn't really think he was going to survive the night. And this was just the beginning of our winter camp, and things happened so that I still went to the camp, and I believe that helped to build me up so that I could then come back. And I just, when I went to the hospital and prayed with him, because he'd not recognised anybody or acknowledged anybody, like people would hold his hands and he wouldn't do anything, and I just went and prayed with him. And as soon as I finished praying, I just felt him squeeze my hand, and when I went to leave, I could hear him trying to say something to me, and he hadn't done any of that before. And then within about 2 or 3 days, he was back home, walking about and talking. And I'm just thankful that the Lord, that you can, that we can even pray to the Lord, and that He answers and heals people. Yeah.